Hello and welcome to episode 10 on the work.knits channel. My name is Lauren and I'm coming to you from the southwest of England in the United Kingdom, and I'm very excited to talk to you about some finished objects, some whips, some future knitting plans and some hopefully quite interesting additional content towards the end of this video, so stay tuned. Right guys, it has been a hot minute. I think, this is probably one of the first times I have done the full kind of 2 weeks between each podcast episode without producing additional content. So thank you for bearing with me. Thank you for joining me today. I included a little bit of an intro up front today because I think we have some new viewers and we definitely have some new subscribers. So thank you so much to everybody who's been following along, has just joined. Whenever you've joined me in this journey, thank you so much for being here. It's really exciting that we're growing this space. There are so many new podcasters out there, so many existing podcasters. So the fact you've chosen to join me is really, really humbling, and I'm just really grateful. So without further ado, I was going to get started into the episode proper. If you are joining us relatively fresh, then the way that I tend to do is I tend to start off with a little quote or 2 lines of poem that has really inspired me this week. It's a relatively new thing we've been trying and I'm hoping that everyone's really enjoying it. And then we will get going into some finished objects. I'll try and tie in some themes as I go, and yeah, we will just run from there. Hopefully I have managed to insert a clip of me making my coffee ahead of this episode. I don't know if people like that, but I've seen it on some other podcasts and I really enjoy it. It's a very relaxing start. But as you'll probably see from that little intro clip of me making coffee, our kitchen is currently under renovation and we are doing it ourselves. And that's basically the theme of what's going on in our house. For those of you who aren't aware, we are renovating and kind of finishing building work on our house ahead of selling it this summer, hopefully. And so it's been a little bit chaotic. And I think the reason I highlight this up front is, given I had a 2-week break since my last podcast episode, I really thought I'd have a lot to show you guys. And actually, I sat down to film this yesterday and I got myself into a little bit of a panic. I'm going to be honest, it's the first time that I felt a pressure from making these episodes. I just really wanted to get loads of these whips finished, not just to show you, but because I really just wanted to clear the decks and just be able to kind of start on some fresh projects. I'm normally someone who loves having lots of whips, but I definitely have had too many because I'm now just really wanting to knit some new stuff, and I know just casting that on is not going to be helpful, particularly as we are trying to kind of declutter, pack things away, etc. So yeah, hopefully kind of seeing the state of our kitchen is kind of semi-helpful because yeah, one of the reasons I've not got massive knitting done, or at least not as much as I would have wanted to, is that we are actively renovating, and the last 2 weeks have been very busy with that on top of full-time jobs, etc. So there we go. That's a bit of a life update there for you right at the beginning. But let me have a sip of coffee. Let me share with you my kind of little short piece of poetry for the week, and then I will show you some finished objects. Oh, always but first coffee. I've got this in my June Dobson mug. June's a young person local to Somerset in England. Sorry, we've got some background noise from a tractor. I'll try and edit that out. But yeah, June Dobson's a young person local to Somerset in England, and they make these beautiful mugs from scratch. Absolutely gorgeous. Okay. So for our quote / bit of poetry this week, I've actually got one that's got quite a lot of meaning to me because, as in a kind of historic meaning to me, and it's from Elizabeth Jennings' A Spell of Words book, and this was given to me when I was in primary school. It's a selection of poems for children, and it's got, like, it kind of talks about, like, poems about different, like, animals and nature and etc. but it was kind of my first foray into poetry, and I'm so glad someone bought it for me. Anyway, the couple of lines that have been inspiring this week come from Elizabeth's poem that is called The Luck, and it's literally just the last 2 lines. And the last 2 lines read, "It is a bonus, a prize, an abundant gift, to be yourself with a mind that works in your head." And I just, yeah, it really is. I just thought that was such like a humbling reminder of, you know, it's such a humbling reminder to be grateful for your ability to be you, is kind of how I interpret it, and your ability to and the way that your mind works and how unique that is to you. And yeah, I think sometimes when you're feeling stressed and everything's just kind of getting on top of you a bit, and I think it's quite easy to kind of knock yourself and be like, oh, I'm not doing enough, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that, or to be kind of compare yourself or keep thinking about what you could be doing. I think that's just, yeah, a reminder to be grateful that, you know, that you are who you are. So anyway, that's our poem for this week. Sorry, hope everyone likes these poems. I don't mean them to kind of be deep and heavy, but at the same time I think it's kind of nice to explain why that's my poem of the week. Anyway, do let me know down in the comments if you like them or not, because, you know, won't include them if people don't like them. Okay, so let's go straight into some finished objects. Oh, right. In my last episode, I said that I really wanted to clear the decks, particularly concerning 2 jumpers that you guys are probably sick of seeing. You've been seeing them every single episode now for probably a few months, if not more. In fact, one of them I think I cast, in fact, both of them I think I cast on pretty early on in starting this podcast. So you've literally got 10 episodes of these same 2 jumpers. So apologies, but hopefully that is going to change soon. However, neither of them are my finished objects, which I'm kind of upset about, but anyway, we'll get to that in a minute. But, finished object. Ta-da! Finally! Okay, these are my Time to Decompress socks. This is my own pattern that is available on Ravelry under work.knits or work.knits designs. I published this pattern earlier this year, and my original sample were knit in work.knits socks, fingering weight, in a kind of beautiful like topazzy light blue and a burnt orange. Those were gifted to my future mother-in-law, and now I have knit a second pair, this time at a 72 stitch circumference for my other half. I had this one finished for ages as a hoe. I have literally whipped this one out pretty much since, I think the last episode I'd done like just this top bit, part of this top bit. I've whipped out the whole rest of the sock in the last like 2 to 3 days. These are knit up on 2.5mm needles, 72 stitch circumference as I mentioned, and yeah, excuse me, yeah, I think yarn wise it's a crazy shoppable that I had in stash. I don't have the ball band, but it's kind of a gradiating reddy blue one. For some reason it kind of reminds me of Scottish tartan, not sure why. And then the white contrast colour is Holst Garn in their Highland sock base, and I think this is the colourway Ecru. And what else to say? I've still got a stitch marker in the end of this toe because I dropped a stitch during 3 needle bind off on the toes, so I still have my ends to weave in if I'm honest. And I will go in and use one of those ends to finish that, you know, to pick up that stitch. My phone is flashing at me for storage, so I'm gonna just check that before going into any more detail. And we're back. Sorry about that, guys. And oh, this really wasn't the right shirt to record in, and not my usual look for a podcast episode, but we're about to head into town after this, so I wanted to get ready to make all of the rest of the day run smoothly. Anyway, yeah, I think in terms of the other things I know about the pattern, so I think I've already mentioned one thing, which is the toe is shaped as a round toe, and then you do a 3 needle bind off on the end, which I think gives quite a nice effect, and I think is a lot quicker than grafting the end of the toe. When we were test knitting this pattern, it became very apparent that I knit my things the wrong way around, in the sense that I knit with the wrong side of the fabric facing out like this, and that caused quite a lot of complication on this toe because, bless them, my test knitter, who was very kindly helping me with this, ended up with a 3-needle bind off on the outside. That was completely my fault because in the instructions I did not say make sure it was turned wrong sides out. Anyway, so yeah, 3-needle bind off on the toe. Other nice features include the heel flap. It's a heel flap and gusset construction, and the heel flap is double knit. So it gives you that kind of paddiness and that security, but it gives you stretch, and I thought that was really important to get a really nice fit. But you keep your stitch counts the same at either end, so you kind of also get this like kind of gathering in effect, which I think again really helps with the fit and to keep those really nice and snug around your feet. So in terms of colour work, I would say, again, I was chatting to my test knitter about this, I think on the one hand, colourwork socks are probably not that beginner friendly, given that these are, you know, on a 2.5mm needle on a very like tight gauge. So in that sense, they're not very beginner friendly. However, I think if you are familiar with colourwork and you're wanting to do a first pair of colourwork socks and you know how to knit socks, then I think these are pretty good in the sense that the charts are very simple, and it's kind of once you've done around, it's really potato chippy knitting. So that was the idea, was these are time to decompress in the sense that the process of making them is like involved enough that your brain is not rattling through your to-do list, but they're relaxing enough that you don't have to like think really hard about them. And then also hopefully the kind of vibe they give off is like chilled weekends, padding around the house, maybe doing some baking, very wholesome. Anyway, you get the drift. So first finished object, minus ends being woven in, but hey, I mean loads of my stuff doesn't have ends woven in. First finished object is my time to decompress socks. And before I move on to my next finished object, I was going to say I loved doing the giveaway recently. I have pulled a winner in recent episodes. That parcel is weaning its way to them. I'm a little bit concerned it hasn't arrived yet, but we keep our fingers crossed, everybody. I would like to run another giveaway, but I'd like to do it relatively informally in the sense that I think basically every even episode, so we're on episode 10, so the next time this would apply would be episode 12, I will pull a giveaway winner from people who have subscribed and commented on the previous video, if that makes any sense. So on the uneven videos, I will pull a winner from people who have commented and subscribed, and basically I will give them their pick of the patterns that I have available. On the one hand, you could argue this is not the best giveaway prize because I'm a very new designer, lots of these patterns are not tech edited. On the other hand, I don't think you can ever say no to a free pattern, and it's a nice way to have like a rolling giveaway where I can give back to all of you for all of your support of me. So anyway, the reason this is linked to my socks is obviously it's one of my patterns. I have several others, so do have a look at which one you would like in case you end up being the winner. Give it a quick favourite whilst you're there, if that's okay, that would be great. So yeah, I thought it'd be really nice. And speaking of patterns, so I have the Karen wrap that I was knitting back in kind of March, April time. That was gifted to my mum for a significant birthday. I am still going to write up the pattern for that. It's just been a little bit too hectic, but I am lining that up for the autumn, along with probably a pattern for this. This is my second finished object. This is a self-drafted collar, like a dicky, a bib, whatever you want to call it. So here we go in all its glory. Shorter at the back, longer at the front. This is knit up in Kate Davies Designs Ard Tier or Ard Tier, which is an Aran / worsted weight yarn that is about, I think it's like 60% Falcon wool, 40% alpaca off the top of my head. Do I actually have the details? 1 second, I might do. Haha. Sorry about that quick duck below camera, but 60% Highland wool, but 40% alpaca. I was right on the division, the split. So this is 50-gram hanks you get. They are 65 meters per 50 grams, and the colorway I knit this in is called Glamour. It is a beautiful kind of cognac, chestnutty colour. It's stunning, but what you probably can't see on camera and is really hard to photograph is it's got these really long staples that kind of create a halo, and that halo is in like a yellowy, greeny gold colour. It's gorgeous. It adds a really, really beautiful dimension. So in terms of the construction of this, I cast on below the rib. So here, I, broadly speaking, used the stitch counts of Petite Knits contrast sweater pattern for the numbers for kind of splitting and then creating the saddle shoulder. Now, before people get really upset that I'm then thinking of making this into a design, I'm going to knit another one, and there's some alterations I want to make to that, which then essentially means all I'm doing is using a saddle shoulder construction. I'm not using Petite Knits design. And it was literally just for the cast on, and then from there I carried on my own way. So yeah, there's going to be alterations, so it'll end up being nothing like the contrast sweater beginnings. And then basically you increase along the saddle shoulder, and as you do, you start introducing these various different charts. I had a nightmare with this in the sense that I had got this on pause probably about here on this side. I hadn't knit the other side yet. It was on pause there for ages, and essentially that's because I was trying to create line by line instructions so that me and future users of the pattern would not have to refer to multiple different charts, was my plan. That's how I like to do it. I don't like to be trying to cross-reference because I just think it makes the project really not very portable. However, that meant I had to convert flat cabling charts into in the round, and then I had to convert them back to flat. And then when you convert them back to flat, you've got to make sure that the cabling rows are all on the same side. I tried a little workaround so that they didn't have to be, but it just was an absolute nightmare. So anyway, this was on pause for ages whilst I just got my head around that. Essentially what I ended up doing was going back to having 3 separate charts, and I had post-it notes that I moved up and down the different charts as I went. And once I'd done that, this took me 2 evenings. And yes, I'd literally done this bit until the shoulder split here. Literally done that bit on one side, that's it, and then I knit the whole of the other side and finished this off, and then did the collar all in 2 nights. So yeah, it's a very quick project once everything's sorted. This yarn was perfect for this. It's got this beautiful kind of slip and drape, and it's kind of sturdy, but it's not so dense that it's hard to knit with. As I said, knit this on 4mm needles, and yeah, I really cannot wait to cast on another one. If only I didn't have so many other whips that I need to get done first. But I've got the yarn lined up. I think the next version I want to do in Gilead by Rerum Natura. I've got a ball of it, so I think that will be my next one. So yes, very, very pleased with this and very excited for it to be a finished object. I am not going to put it on, but I think, yeah, I will try and put some more photos up on Instagram of me wearing this. It's just too warm today, guys. I'm sorry, it's over 20 degrees in the UK, and our buildings are not made for that. But yes, it sits really quite high up under the neck, and then the front comes down kind of mid-bust to try and accommodate, a coat neckline. It's much shorter at the back and just comes down enough that it's not going to kind of slip around and move. But obviously normally coats don't have openings at the back, so you don't need as much length there. And yeah, I'm really excited to style it with kind of a white shirt, my black wool coat, maybe a kind of oatmeal coloured hat in the winter. It's going to be gorgeous. So excited! So yes, that is my next finished object. So there's just the 2 of them today, which, as I said, was not really what I wanted, but we're just going to go with it. I'm going to chuck these onto the sofa opposite me and have a sip of coffee. Okay. So, my whips. Where to start? Okay, I'm going to start with one that you guys are very familiar with. If you are bored of this project, which I would really understand, then feel free to skip forwards a bit. If I can remember to, and I'm normally terrible at this, but I will put a timestamp for where to skip to. But yeah, I'm going to talk about my doodle / Tresco sweater. So I have been going all guns blazing on this, and I really, really wanted to finish it, along with my Tin Can Knits gold and navy sweater, which I have not touched since the last episode, so I am not going to bore you with that one today. I'm going to wait until hopefully that's a finished object next time. My doodle sweater, the last episode I tried this on and was delighted with it, and I was partway down one sleeve. Since then I have got this far on that sleeve and then put it on waist yarn. So before the ribbing I wanted to do, I then started knitting the other sleeve, and then basically it's become very apparent that I am playing a huge game of yarn chicken and I'm going to lose. So what I've done is I've got my last 50-gram ball of the Sandnes Garn Tresco. I have divided that unequally, so I've done 20 grams and 30 grams, and then I've divided each of those into two. The 10-gram balls are going onto the ends of the sleeves, and I am doing a striped rib with the Rico Designs Superba Luxury Alpaca Sock Yarn, which was here in the contrast. I'm doing striped ribbing with that, and basically I'll keep going until the Tresco has run out, and then I will finish the rib off with the alpaca. I have not yet done that on the other side, and then I will do the same thing going down the bottom of the body on a split hem. Design wise and looks wise, I think I'll end up loving it, but at the moment it's just not what I had in my head. I had in my head that the rest of the sweater would be plain dark grey. So it's just taking a little while for my mind to adjust to these stripes. I don't know if the stripes was the right way of doing it or if I should have colour blocked it. Yeah, it might be I end up ripping back and colour blocking it instead. I don't know. But I wanted this to be quite graphic jumper. I'd also say, look, I can't be too upset in the sense that this sweater was literally doodled. I did no maths, I did no swatching, I did no kind of calculations of any sort. And so it was pretty inevitable that this wasn't going to work out perfectly. I mean, that just would have been ridiculous if it had. So yeah, that's where we're up to. So I have probably got another 2 to 3 inches to do on this ribbing until it's the length I want it. I will then go and do the same over here, and then I will also do the same on the body. It's going to be quite a short, this is going to be quite short, and then it's going to go straight into a split and quite a long one, but this is quite a deep body overall from shoulder, so it's got quite a wide sleeve opening, if that makes any sense. So it's not going to be massively cropped on me. And then I'm going to go back into the collar, I'm going to undo the bind off, and then I'm going to knit 1 row more in the Tresco and then do the same depth again but in the alpaca and then turn that in. So I'll still have my double thickness collar to make it kind of stand up and look a bit chunkier, but the inside will be the alpaca. And to be fair, the Tresco's not bad, but it's not super soft, so having some alpaca next to my skin might be a bit better anyway. So yeah, I'm just adjusting my kind of thoughts and feelings around this, but I am sure I'll still love the end result sweater. It's just not quite what I'd thought it would be. I'm like looking on camera like, do I like it? Anyway, we'll get there, guys, we'll see. So that's where we're up to on that. A huge amount of knitting. This is really quite hard on my hands. I'm knitting this on, well, the yoke was on 4mm needles, but this is on 3, the rest of the main body is on 3.5. It's an incredibly dense fabric. I mean, this basically stands up by itself. Yep, there we go. So it's very hard on my hands, and so when I was trying to churn these sleeves out, oy vey. But yeah, we will get there. We will get there. So that is that project. I'm not going to go on any more in terms of like the construction of the yoke and the body and what I've done at each stage in my doodle. I will go through that properly when this is the finished object. I can get it off the needles, which I'm very excited to do, partially because I really want to try it on and have it finished, partially because I'm very proud of it generally as a project, but also because it's been going on for just so long. So yeah, there we go, guys, that's the doodle. Right, on to other more exciting things, and sorry, I'm just gonna have to duck down a minute to just move some things around on the floor. Or can I do it with my feet? That is the question. Sorry, I'm getting a flash of stomach at the same time. Right, coffee. Okay, next work in progress I was going to share, let me dip down to pick up some things up. Okay, so last episode I showed you all some progress I've made on what is being nicknamed my Grink wrap, my pink and grey wrap. Some of you remember that is an intarsia wrap that I'm knitting, and so it's an intarsia with a gradient. So there's just so many balls of yarn attached to it, and we were heading off last weekend, the weekend before, wow, time is just flying. Last weekend, I think, to the south of France on a kind of slightly spontaneous 72-hour trip. It was kind of like minimum budget, just like, let's go, because some of our friends have friends who've got a house out there. So it was kind of free accommodation, just pay for flights, and let's just go and have some time in the sun. Ironically, the weather we're here in the UK was beautiful, but anyway. So I was trying to figure out what I was going to pack to take, and I just felt the Grink wrap, even though it's exactly what I wanted to knit on, was not very portable. Likewise, my doodle sweater, that would have been a great time to crank out some stitches on that. It probably would be done if I'd taken that. But again, we had hand luggage only, and that's a really bulky project. So I was like, okay, I'll treat myself to one other cast on. I took my time to decompress socks, so I was good. But I was like, okay, I will cast something else on, and the excuse is it's also decluttering. I knit for my work.knits ready-to-wear knitwear company. I knit this wrap, and it's all crinkled, sorry, but I knit this, it had a beautiful edging on it, knit this up on my Vintage Brother knitting machine to sell in my shop, and it is Camo Rose cotton and wool blend in like a kind of like a dusky rose colourway. I love the drape of this, I love like the weight of it, I love how it hangs, and I actually really love the colour. And I had also Camo Rose wool cotton blend in this kind of grey slatey blue colour. And I thought, oh, there's a pattern I've been wanting to do for ages. Given I love this drape, how about I make a wider wrap, but for me, and I'll make the diagonal pinstripe wrap by Pearl Soho. That was my thinking. And we got this far. Long and short is, the gauge is not right. It's too loose compared to the drape I wanted on this. But also, there's nothing wrong with the colours. In theory, the colours work together. I'm just not feeling it as a colour combination, which is weird because I'm massively into pinks and blues this year. But yeah, I'm just not feeling it. So I got this far and put all that knitting in, and to be honest, I think I'm going to frog it, which is a real shame. But there we go. That's the way sometimes these whips fail. So I thought I'd share that because it is actually a decent chunk of knitting. It's a lovely pattern. The original pattern is in garter stitch. I transferred into stockinette stitch just because I thought I'd get closer to this kind of drape in stockinette. And the beginning of the pattern is just, it's not fiddly, like it's very simple row repeats, but I think it was fiddly because I just couldn't quite figure out where it was going. Like I just couldn't get my head around this like knitting on the diagonal. Which now I have, but that's just why it took me a little bit of time. Plus, you know, we were with friends and everyone's chatting and getting in and out of a pool. So anyway, but yeah, a failed whip, unfortunately. And I'm kind of, the only reason I regret it, because I never regret failed whips generally. I think you always learn something, but I just regret this in the sense that was a lot of time knitting when I could have been knitting on another whip and cleared the decks a bit more. So anyway, there we go. I was working on that. I took with me as well, and I should have just really worked on this. I took with me my colourwork, all over colourwork tubular cowl. This is really annoying to knit on the go, if I'm honest. I really just need to draw out the chart so that I can use it more portably. It's in a book, so trying to take the book around is not great. Trying to do it on a picture on my phone, the chart is so big that trying to move the picture on the screen so that you know where you're up to is actually really hard. I know you can get some apps that help with these kind of things, but anyway, my point is I just really need to sort an easier way to read the chart, and then I think I will fly on this because I absolutely love it, and the fabric that this is creating is just, oh. So this is another whip that is on my cards to finish over the next few weeks if I can, as in this is kind of one of my whips that I really want to get done. So there we go, a failed whip and a no progress whip, but a whip that I love. Right, we've got more things. The floor is just becoming like a graveyard for whips, etc. So the project that I left at home, I have, however, put some progress into this, so it does look a bit different to last time you saw it. So this is my grink wrap. This is me again, just kind of doodling and playing. So last time you saw this, we were just below this pink section here, and it had a triangle sewn onto the bottom, or like kind of we'd picked up stitches along the side of a triangle. I have since gone back in, taken that triangle off, unravelled it, knit down, and then I've also added 2 strands of Knoll yarn, super soft, very lightweight, held double in the colour Oxford on the bottom. I've put a barber cord on there so that I can go back and extend that piece of knitting depending on the proportions of the overall wrap. I have then finished this section of intarsia, added in a little, this was actually done in colour work because I didn't want to have so many pieces of yarn hanging off. I think that will affect the tension slightly. So glad to have experimented, but won't be doing that again. And then I've got another section of intarsia starting up here, also in the lighter colour. Sorry, the needles are flying everywhere, and sorry for the clanking. So as I said, the dark grey blue is Knoll Yarn's super soft lamb's wool in the colour Oxford. For all of the mohair section, I'm holding 1 strand of Knoll Yarn super soft lamb's wool in the colourway Almond with the different mohairs, so it will kind of create a consistency. This lightest section, the mohair, is Isaiah in their kind of natural colour, and that was kind of leftovers from my Petite Knit contrast sweater. This pink is a beautiful mohair that I have bought recently from Gull Rock Fibres. It's naturally dyed in their golden rose or rose gold colourway. The silk core is this stunning gold colour where it's really absorbed the first layer of dye, and then the mohair is the gorgeous pink. I just absolutely love this. So I'm going to be doing intarsia using those 2 until I've finished up the lighter mohair, and then I will do a section just in the Gull Rock Fibres mohair, and then I will start bringing in intarsia sections of the almond held with Shalana Kid Setter in the colourway 120, which is this kind of gorgeous cranberry colour. So I think this will end up being a really cool geometric looking pinks ombre kind of wrap. And then at the end, I will hold the Oxford colourway, 2 strands of it together at the end like I have at the bottom, and then I will do 2 big blocks down the side. So essentially we'll have this massive grey border. That is the plan. Slow going so far, but I think it will really start chugging once I'm not trying to finish off this doodle Tresco sweater. But really loving this project, really enjoying intarsia. Definitely room to improve. This is my first time doing it, but I'm really beginning to get into the swing of it. I know intarsia is really making a comeback. Lots of people seem to be getting into it right now. And I'm really pleased because I think these things kind of go out of fashion for a while, and it's such a shame because the technique itself can be applied in so many different ways. So how a technique can go out of fashion, it's kind of a strange concept. But anyway, that is my grink wrap. I'm going to stop clanking my needles against the box. This is all being housed in a box because of the size of this cone, but as you can see, not very portable. Alrighty, I have finally ordered, or I lie, I'm about to finally order another skein of yarn to finish off another whip that you guys saw quite a long time ago, which I'm really keen to finish, which was my summer top that's kind of loosely based off the Pieces of Silver sweater by Vera Valimaki. Basically, I just ran out of yarn, and then I've really wanted to have a project to buy some other yarn for so that I wasn't paying shipping just on one tiny ball of yarn. I still haven't quite resolved that in my head, but I am going to order it this weekend because I just want to finish that top because I really want to wear it. So hopefully that will be on the list of finished objects next time we speak. I'm going to duck down again to pick up my next work in progress. So this one you guys have never seen on the podcast before, but it was started ages ago, and I found this when I was kind of sorting through the room that I'm in, which is a spare room that it's kind of got multiple purposes. It's got a bed, it's got a sofa, it's got like storage of our sheets in it, it's got all my knitting stuff, it's also got my desk where I work every day. It's just a very like multifunctional room, and because of that it had become an absolute mess. And as part of us moving, I've been trying to go through everything, sort, declutter, pack. As part of doing that, I found a work in progress that I'd completely forgotten about. Ta-da! So, during lockdown, during the pandemic here in the UK, I ordered some macrame yarn and I did a big wall hanging. I'm looking this way because that's where it's hung on the wall. And I had some cotton yarn left over. This is seriously chunky cotton yarn, very dense, very splitty. And I thought, oh, I'm going to knit this up, or crochet this up into a big circle, slightly wonky circle as you can see, but I'm doing my best. I'm just going to crochet this into a massive circle. Depending how big it gets, it could either be a kind of centerpiece on a table that I could then have a vase on it and some candles. If it's big enough, it could be a mat within our bathroom. There's loads of things it could be. I'm crocheting this up on a 10mm. I'm literally just going round and round and round, occasionally very randomly adding in an extra chain to keep making, chaining one to keep making it bigger. I'm sure there's a far more technical way of doing it. This is seriously tough on my hands, but it's creating this gorgeous, incredibly paddy circle, and I'm just going to keep going and just get this done. We can then pack it for the next place where we live, wherever it is that we move to, and yeah. I think a really nice way to use up macrame yarn, and it's quite therapeutic because it's something a bit different to my other whips. I have put in probably about 3 rounds, so like 3 rows on this since Tuesday? Yeah. So this is now going to be my ongoing whips part, and I really hope to have that finished next time we speak. But yeah, I think if this is successful, I mean, I've crocheted a few kind of like face cloths, I've knitted a hand towel for us before, but I do really like having like homeware that I've made. So, oh, and I have crocheted a kind of table mat before, which we use every single day, and everyone thinks it comes from the White Company, which is such a huge compliment in the sense that it just doesn't even cross their mind that it's been handmade. So yeah. Right, that's my next whip. I'm going to pause for a sip of coffee. I hope you guys have got something nice to drink, maybe a snack. I'm trying to get an idea of how long this is running for, and currently probably quite a while. So we've got huge amounts more to cover, but the next sections are going to kind of be, I was going to talk to you a little bit about, on the theme of packing things up. I was going to talk to you a little bit about some things that I'm going to be putting in my shop as a result of doing some sorting, and yeah, a few other bits and pieces. Let's just keep going. But basically that is my core like knitting content, core. So if that's what all you're here for, which is absolutely fine, then just a word of warning, the next bits, they're all very knitting related, but they're not kind of core like works in progress. I'm going to talk a little bit about future knitting plans in relation to stash, but no, this is not stash acquisitions. There's nothing new here. This is so I did a video right back when I first started this channel talking about what's in my stash. I have since now, apart from my yarn wall, which is all kind of like scraps and odds and ends from other projects, I have actually boxed up my stash because, as I keep mentioning, sorry, broken record, we are hopefully moving. So where I've got to now is my stash is contained in here and in here. There we go. And why this is important is I think this is way too much to move with. So one thing I want to do is figure out what, it's just made me really think about why I'm keeping some stuff in stash, basically. And going through my stash was also really helpful because it's made me think about what, instead of just buying new yarn for projects, which to be fair, I didn't really do very much of anyway, but like, it just made me think about what I could use to make something that would bring joy to someone else. So as an example, this is a kind of self-made skein, which is why it's terribly put all together, and also I think the cat attacked it at one point. This is, I think, Novita yarns, which is Stockton John Lewis. It's like their baby yarn. I knit a sweater for a friend when she had a baby a year or so ago, and this was the contrast colour, so I had all of this left. This is also some leftovers of Holstgarn Highland sock in like the navy colourway. These two look great together. I never would have known because they were stored in completely different places. Now I've brought them together. We've got some more friends who are having a baby. I'm going to knit a baby item out of this. It's either going to be a Oslo hat, or I might try for a little sweater, but I don't think I've got quite enough of this. But yeah, an Oslo hat, maybe some little socks. But now I've got something that I want to do with these and I'm really motivated. So I'm like, right, that's what I'm going to do. So you'll see those coming out of stash fairly soon. Also in this smaller box, I've got my Ficalana Arwetta that I picked up when I was in Copenhagen. I'm not in any rush to knit that up. So like that's really kind of like reassured me that actually no, like I don't just want to cast that on. That hasn't got a purpose currently, but I really want it to be knit into something that I really love. I've got some of the Ficalana Saga. This is leftovers from my Medina top. This I'm thinking could be a beautiful commuter hat, which is one of my patterns. I might knit this up as a different version of that ahead of the autumn. I think that'll go beautifully with the collar that I showed as a finished object today. So yeah, this is just basically what I'm trying to say is I'm beginning to make some future knitting plans because I've boxed up my stash, which I think is great. So as I've just mentioned, one thing that is on the card is a baby Oslo hat, which is going to be so cute. So that's one thing I'm looking forward to casting on the minute all these other things are off my needles. The other future knitting plans that I have relate to this box. So you guys have seen this before and I've been saying it for ages. I've now bought and printed the pattern. I'm going to be knitting this up into a thin air sweater by Lily Kate Designs. So that is on the cards. I have an Andrea Mowry sweater planned with some Rawork Sport with my one and only ever purchased Skeina spin cycle that was given as a gift. I have got, I think the rest of this box I kind of have loose plans for. I've got some Wee Country Yarns, or Wee County Yarns. No, Wee County Yarns. I've got some Wee County Yarns Kinross. I had a plan for that. I'm now just wavering slightly and I'm like, do I want to make something else instead? Let's just see. So yeah, basically though, I'm beginning to kind of go through and make plans for stuff, I think is the long and the short. But the thin air sweater is a definite, the Oslo hat is a definite, there is a potential Andrea Mowry sweater. So a couple of future knitting plans there, sorry for the duck down. I'm also playing with an idea in my head for a colourwork cable pattern. Yet another one, given that I still haven't even written the patterns up for some of my other things, but yes. So all that to say, lots of future knitting plans. One thing I would really love all your advice on is I'm trying to look for a pattern for, and I say this kind of reluctantly because I'm still like, oh, have I made my mind up? I'm getting married in November and my bridesmaids have got some very autumnal bridesmaids dresses, but they're not very warm. And I really want to knit them both something that will keep them warm. I've been looking at some of the sweaters by, oh gosh, I don't know her name. I know her first name, Joanna Kalaricha, is that what her name is? I'll link below or link in my show notes over on my website. She does the George's sweater, which I think she designed for her wedding. I could knit them that, but in some other colours. Or I could knit them a shawl each. I really kind of want to do the shawls. I think there's some beautiful like wedding bridal type shawls out there. Sorry, I'm needing to do this box. There's some beautiful kind of wedding style shawls out there. But then I'm like, is a shawl that practical for the day when they're going to be kind of moving around doing things? Anyway, if anyone has any suggestions, shout. The backs of their dresses are really stunning, so I kind of want that on display if that helps when people are thinking of recommendations. So there we go. I'm gonna take a sip of coffee and then leave you hanging, evidently. Having a sip of coffee, I'm going to refer to my notes briefly. Okay, sticking on stash for a moment, and then I'm going to come back. Not stash, but the sorting thing. I'm going to stick there for a minute. Then I'm going to continue with future knitting plans. Sorry guys, this is not very structured, but bear with me. So, whilst I was going through the whole stash situation, as some of you will know from my last episode, I was discussing selling the leftovers from a project, which was quite substantial, like 66 grams of a leftovers gain, because a lovely viewer reached out and said they loved the colourway so much, they'd been looking for something similar and just couldn't find it. And so I thought to myself, I've taken so much joy from that skein. Do I know what I'm going to do with the other 66 grams? No. If there's someone else who really wants it, I should share that joy. I know I keep saying the word joy and I keep saying share joy in my podcast episodes, but honestly, you guys share so much joy with me and I take so much joy from this podcast, and I just love that idea that we're just sharing the joy around. So anyway, I listed that skein on my website and that lovely viewer has purchased it, so I'm going to be sending it to them today. But it made me think, are there other skeins in my stash that I bought with the hope of kind of broadening my horizons, playing with colour, that actually, if I'm honest, do I think I will knit them? And isn't it so silly to have them languishing in my stash when I could be sharing that with other people who would actually take more joy from it? And the answer was, yes, I do have that kind of stuff in my stash. So one skein that I wanted to, or I'm going to put up on my website, in case people are interested, is this mini skein. This skein is from To The Max Yarn Co, which is no longer in existence, but one of the dyers behind it now owns Frankie Gray Fibre. That dyer is Jodie from the Grocery Girls podcast. I'm sure you're very familiar because they are so famous in the knitting world. But yes, when Jodie was dyeing with one of their children under the name To The Max Yarn Co, I purchased a couple of sock sets. I have knit one of the sock sets. I knit the main skein into a cowl, which I love. And I used the mini in something else recently that I can't remember. The other skein of sock yarn is actually in one of the boxes that I just showed you. It's a little bit out of my colourway, like normal wheelhouse, but I think I will probably knit that into a big sock tube and then use it for Christmas gifts. But this mini skein that came with has got a light gold stellina, and it's very kind of subtle, and it's in this kind of purpley, mauvey, slightly pinky colour. It's really gorgeous, but it just really isn't a colour that I normally knit with, which is ironic because I'm wearing purple today. This is literally the only purple thing in my wardrobe, aside from a purple wrap that I wore in the last episode, and I think, as I said to you guys at the time, I'm still not sure if it's in my wheelhouse. Speaking of that wrap, one of the skeins that I bought to go into that fade was this one. This is a hand-dyed skein from Peak District Yarns. So Peak District, I'm sure people may have heard of the Peak Districts in the UK. It's this incredible area, beautiful hills, beautiful walks. Jane Austen based a lot of her works in there. In fact, if you've seen the films Pride and Prejudice, Chatsworth House is in the Peak District. And this is the colour Dusk. It's a 4-ply high twist, 80/20 merino nylon, 100 grams, 365 metres. Literally untouched. Both of them have never been taken out of their skeins. So I think I will put both of these into my online shop. I will, for the mini, I'm going to kind of have to guess a price because obviously it came as part of a sock set, but I will just take a look and take a guess. This, I should be able to get the exact price that I purchased it for, and then obviously shipping will be on top. If you are based in the UK or Europe, selecting the UK shipping option on my website should be fine. If you are based further afield than that from me, so if you're based on continental US, South America, New Zealand, Australia, etc., then please select the US option. At the moment, shipping to the US is like almost 20 quid. When I shipped my giveaway prize, that was, ouch, yeah, quite expensive. So depending on the address that comes through, and I hope this doesn't sound cheeky, but I might just have to send you a link for a bit of further shipping costs, because until my website's not sophisticated enough to calculate shipping costs currently based on the address you enter. So if it's miles off, then yeah. So I think really this yarn's going to be the most cost effective for someone who's in Europe, because I just think in the US the shipping's going to end up being more than the skein's worth, and then you're going to end up paying like £40 for a skein, which is madness. So anyway, those two are going to my website as a result of me going through my stash. If anyone wants them, zero pressure. I'm just putting it out there that, you know, they might bring someone else more joy. The next thing I have to show you is a bit jangly and a bit noisy, and I'm going to have to come a bit closer, I think. So, when I was, oh, my stool making noise on the half. When I was in school, I used to do loads of textiles, and I did loads of like embroidery and beading and making clothes. and I used to collect beads and little bits and pieces when I was on holiday and stuff. I used to go into kind of bead shops and stuff. And so I've got these massive jars, and what I realised recently was they've been sat there for over a decade and I haven't used them. And then I saw some of them, I thought, oh, those would be really good stitch markers. So I've made some for myself, but I also made more, and I thought I'd put those extra ones on my website in case anyone's interested. Again, zero pressure, this is just me going, someone else might like them, let's share the joy. So I'm going to come up close just to give you an idea of what I've made. So there's a metal red button, there's some of these little gorgeous kind of petals in different colours, there is a bell here, that's what's making the most noise, these are some gorgeous little leaves, and then I've got two that are on lobster clips, and this little one, actually the pot unscrews. So you could, in that little pot, you could take the cork off and you could either store other little round stitch markers in there, it's big enough, I've tried, or if you didn't want that to come undone, you could just put a little bit of glue around the cork so the pot stays shut. But I thought these were quite cool and a little bit unique, so I will be putting some of these into the shop. My recommendation would be, again, just shipping wise, I will have to try and figure things out, but yeah, shipping wise, I do think US might be a challenge, although obviously these would fit into like a letter size, but still, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be listing these for very much at all, so if you're just buying one, yeah, that could be some very expensive postage for just one, but let's just see. Anyway, going up into my website, I will put links in my show notes, but I will put those up under the ready to wear section of my website. That is the kind of shop section. So obviously these are not ready to wear knitwear, but that's just where they're going to fit into the shop. So yeah, that's what's going to be going up there. More coffee. I'm going to check my notes again, but I think now I wanted to flip back to kind of future knitting plans / future channel plans. So if you are still here with me, thank you. And this section, well, first and foremost, I really want to thank everyone who engaged with my poll over on Instagram this week. If you do not follow me on Instagram, please consider it. I do not post daily, you will not be spammed. I do not post repeats of things. I post a decent amount in the stories, like just bits and pieces of kind of what I'm up to, countryside walks, sharing the love of this part of the UK with everyone. I post kind of maybe once a week max, and it's normally kind of works in progress, finished objects. I'm pausing because there's some singing going on in the centre of our village, and I don't know if you guys can hear it in the background. And I really hope not, otherwise that's going to really destroy this recording. Anyway, let's see what we can do. Maybe I can block out background noise. So yeah, thank you for engaging, those of you who are following me on Instagram already. I am planning on running a number of further polls over on Instagram because I really want to make sure this content is really tailored to what all of you enjoy and want to see, and so I'd like to garner your opinions. So the poll this week was about whether or not people like seeing stash acquisitions, whether or not people like to see stash acquisitions. I have got some further polls that I'd like to do to get consensus on where to go with things. So keep your eyes peeled if you want to engage. Instagram's the place to be. You'll find me at work.knits over on Instagram. In terms of what I'll share here on the video, basically there's some UK based mills, farms, dyers, all sorts happening here in the UK that I think, and please correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but aside from the US, there's not as much concentrated, that's terrible English. Outside of the US, I think the UK has one of the biggest concentrations of hand dyers. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but the fibre community in terms of small businesses here in the UK is huge. And I know over in the US there is, and it's a Kirsty Glass does all like her traveling and interviewing different people involved in the yarn world, and I think that's incredible that she does that. I think there's quite a lot of scope to do something similar here in the UK. I'm beginning to meet and build a network with more and more people here that are either small businesses that I'd love to kind of share with you all and support, or they're doing things just slightly differently. I just think it's fascinating. So I've kind of got in my head a bit of an idea, or like a plan, a program of a kind of another playlist that would feature on this channel. They'd be separate to my podcast episodes. It would be an interview with and a kind of tour of a farm that goes from sheep to yarn, but they do fleeces, and then kind of really talking through like how sheep are cared for, all that kind of stuff. There's a hand dyer who's incredibly local to me, and I have not asked them yet, but I'd be super keen to interview them. But yeah, basically some interviews, some tours, just really demonstrating kind of the breadth of the yarn world here in the UK. So be very interested in your thoughts if this would be of interest. Do let me know down in the comments. I'd absolutely love to do this alongside these regular podcast episodes. But I think in order to do them, I would definitely need to invest more in my equipment. So for total transparency, and you may already know this because of the production quality of these videos, but I record these on my phone, and I also edit these on my phone because a couple of years ago, my other half and I, we had our laptop each that we'd used throughout university, and after something, honestly, I'm not exaggerating, like over 300,000 words of essay writing and about, I think in excess of 750 lecture notes had been written on these poor laptops, and they just gave up. And instead of replacing them, I thought, you know what, I can live with, I could just use my phone. We have a tablet that we share, but we really tried to kind of downsize in terms of technology. When it comes to video editing and like the back end of YouTube, there is only so much you can do on your phone. It's really hard for me to see who my subscribers are, which for giveaways is a nightmare. And yeah, there's just a lot of things that just don't work as well on tablets and phones because of processing power. Why am I telling you all this? Well, I think to do these interviews, I need to invest in a camera, I need to invest in a laptop again. So I'm trying to figure out how to do that. Currently, I don't make any money off YouTube. These podcast episodes are purely enjoyment purposes. YouTube sets kind of minimums before you can start monetizing your channel. So I was having a bit of a think and looking at what other podcasters do to help them kind of get over that hurdle where you kind of need to invest to be able to make the content that you want to share. So I was looking at Patreon and Ko-fi. Patreon, I think the irony would be that given that the whole idea is you subscribe for exclusive content, you'd be subscribing for exclusive content that's made with the same equipment that I'm currently struggling with. So it's like, I don't think that's going to get me in, but I don't think that's going to benefit anyone in the short term. Whereas Ko-fi, this idea of like a kind of donation to help people kind of get themselves up and running, that kind of would work better. There'd be less of an irony there that I was creating even more content on equipment that's not fit for purpose. But I also feel a bit weird about that because it's like people are giving you donations when they're not getting anything in return. So, very stuck on this, very keen to hear your views and your thoughts on this. One option is, rather than going down the Ko-fi route, I could set up, I have a donations thing on my website already, which is for something very specific. So basically, I'm trying to raise money for a sock machine, and then when I get that sock machine, anyone who's helped me raise that money will get a free pair of socks, but then also going forwards, any socks I make for my work.knits ready to wear company, a proportion of profits will go to homeless charities, and a set number of socks will be donated each winter to charities that support homeless individuals in the UK. So I feel very passionate about that, but that's very separate. But I could set up a similar donations portal, but for building some funds to invest in equipment for my channel. So I hope being this transparent with you about current setup doesn't make anyone feel uncomfortable. I'm just trying to explain the kind of vision that I have. I really want to get there. If I can do it on my own, I will. At the same time, you know, lots going on this year, and unfortunately I'm not in a position to just invest money straight out. So we'll see where we go on that. If people have thoughts on Patreon and Ko-fi, let me know. If you have thoughts on the kind of content that I was talking about producing, let me know. But yeah, got big hopes for this channel in terms of newer content, and yeah, like just the idea of talking to more people in the knitting community in the UK just makes me so excited, and then being able to share that with all of you makes me so excited. And I was saying to the viewer that I'm sending this yarn to soon, I was saying, like, I feel like I've now got knitting friends around the world. I'd love to do a trip where I just kind of go and see all of them in an area. That'd be amazing. Anyway, I ramble. Right, pulling the episode towards a close, I was going to give you a quick update on life, but I think I will just leave that, because really the long and the short is what I said at the beginning of the episode. Things are very busy. I am changing jobs, so work should be winding down, but it's not really, if I'm honest. And I do have 2 weeks off between the two jobs, but we just don't know whether, like, where we're going to be with the house and stuff by that point. So that's either going to be taken up renovating, or we might be moving stuff. I don't know. Anyway, there's a lot of unknowns, which is fine. Knitting is kind of my thing that's in my control at the moment, so I'm just trying to enjoy that. And yeah, we're slowly getting things together for the wedding. Our invites should be arriving soon, so we'll then have to put quite a number of hours into hand addressing them all and sending those out. I have just managed to snag 15 vases for our tables from IKEA for £1.50 each, which I was delighted with. Oh, I actually have one here, so I can show you. There we go. I bought these for each of our tables. We have like 15 tables, so yeah, really excited about that. I have also been, James, my other half, actually also gifted me an M&S summer beauty bag. This looks very pre-planned, but I actually promise it wasn't. I think it pisses up here because I was painting my nails yesterday before we went out. There we go. An M&S summer beauty bag. M&S do a beauty advent calendar each Christmas, which is like worth £250, but you pay like £45. And they're actually like really good products. This summer beauty bag has like Pixie lip gloss in it, Clinique, all sorts. So I don't want to start making this into a beauty channel, but let me know if you'd be interested in me doing a bit of a review of this, because yeah, you get quite a lot of products to try out, and if I can save you guys time or help you figure out if and when you want to invest any money in beauty products, if I can be any help there, I'm very happy to be. So yeah, let me know if that'd be of interest. I'd be very happy to put up a little short video reviewing that. So yeah, I am going to draw this to a close here because I've been waffling on at you for a very long time, but I really hope you have a lovely rest of the week. Thank you for your patience in this podcast being a day late. Thank you for your patience if you're still with me following on with this ramble. And yeah, just overall very keen to hear your thoughts. Talk to me, people. Tell me what you think. I will leave you to have a lovely rest of the week, lovely rest of the day, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.